So here's how I made that one-man band guitar patch you just heard. First of all, I'm blending my regular guitar signal from these pickups with samples that are triggered by the MIDI signal sent from this MIDI pickup, sound like this. And when you combine the two together, that's the sound you get. So here's a look at my computer to explain this a little better. So first of all, what you're seeing here is a recording program called Reaper. It's where you can record music and mix it and everything, and it's a good program. It's free to demo and it's not very expensive, and I recommend checking it out if you're getting into recording. Alright, so you'll see here that I have these 6 tracks here, and each track is taking in some form of my guitar signal. These purple tracks are taking in just my MIDI information from my MIDI pickup, and then these three tracks are just taking my regular guitar signal from my guitar pickup. So each track from my guitar signal has a different effect on it. This is the octave guitar. This next track here is my super distorted guitar. Then this final track here is like a sort of medium distortion. And when you listen to the 3 by themselves, they do sound sort of terrible. I mean, it's just kind of a grungy sound, but when you add in these next 3 tracks, here I have a bass and a saxophone. And you can see here in this program, it's a plugin that's loaded onto this track called Contact that has a bunch of pre-recorded samples of instruments that my guitar is triggering. So here I have a bass, and that's mapped to my low notes from E to this F right here. And then I also have a saxophone, which is mapped even higher than the bass. And if you listen to the saxophone by itself, it sounds kind of silly. But when you add it into everything else, like this, it sounds pretty neat. So you can use a kind of silly sounding sample like that as really strong support and get a unique sound of your own. So I have saxophone and bass on this track. This track I got some drums going, so if you listen to that solo, it sounds like this. And then if you listen to this solo, it's my heavier drums. Alright, so when you combine all 6 of these tracks together, you have a really dynamic and full sound, and you can orchestrate it as I did, and create the sound of a drummer, a bass player, a saxophone, sort of, and a guitar all at the same time, without relying on backing tracks or looping or anything. You get this really full sound. So my goal is to make a whole solo set where I'm just making the music as I play and it's all exploding for me. It's a really cool improv tool to have this much arrangement at my fingertips, and so I'm going to keep experimenting with this, and if there's a message for me to leave you with, it's that whatever gear you have, try to push it to its limits. Try to keep experimenting, keep exploring with what you've got. And if you have a silly sound like this saxophone that I showed you, remember it could be made into an awesome sound if you just change it a little bit. Innovation doesn't come from reinventing the wheel, it comes from a slight tip in a new direction. If you imagine a sailboat, if you tip it just a little to the left, it'll end up in a whole different place in a few miles. So anyway, that's that. Hope that you enjoyed it.